You didn't find this message by accident, and deep down, you already feel it. There's something different about you, something you've tried to ignore, something others couldn't quite understand. While the world moved in one direction, you felt pulled in another. While others settled, you questioned everything. And now, at this exact moment, you're here, reading this. That's not coincidence, that's alignment. There comes a time in every chosen one's life when everything begins to shift. The confusion starts to make sense. The pain reveals its purpose. The isolation, it was preparation. You weren't being rejected, you were being redirected, molded, strengthened, set apart for something bigger than you ever imagined. And here's the truth most people will never hear. Not everyone is meant to wake up, but you are. If this message resonates even slightly, it's because something inside you is activating. You're stepping into a new level of awareness, power, and purpose. The version of you that doubted, hesitated, and played small, it's fading, and what's replacing it is unstoppable. But listen carefully, this journey requires courage, clarity, and consistency, and that's exactly what this channel is here to give you. So if you're ready to unlock your true identity, rise above limitations, and step into the life you were destined for, make sure you subscribe right now, because this is only the beginning. You were pulled here, not by chance, but by readiness. There's a quiet truth most people never stop long enough to realize. Not everything you encounter is random. Some moments are invitations, and this is one of them. You weren't just scrolling, you were being drawn. There's a powerful difference between curiosity and alignment. Curiosity is fleeting. It clicks, it watches, it moves on. But alignment stops you. It makes you feel something deeper, something almost unexplainable. It's that subtle voice inside you whispering, "Pay attention, this matters." Out of millions of distractions competing for your attention every single day, something about this moment held you still. That's not coincidence, that's readiness revealing itself. Because when you're not ready, you overlook what's meant for you. But when you are, even the smallest message feels like it was designed specifically for your soul. Think about your journey. All the phases, the confusion, the searching, the silent questions you never voiced out loud. You weren't lost, you were gathering, learning, becoming. And now, you've reached a point where your awareness is catching up with your purpose. That pull you felt, that's your inner self stepping forward, not the version of you shaped by fear, doubt, or external expectations, but the real you, the one that's been waiting patiently beneath the noise, waiting for the right moment to rise. And this is that moment. You're no longer wandering without direction. You're being guided subtly, intentionally, powerfully. Every step from here carries meaning. Every realization unlocks another layer of who you truly are. So don't brush this off. Don't minimize it. You didn't just find this, you were ready for it. Your past confusion was a hidden preparation. There was a time when nothing made sense. You questioned your path, your decisions, even yourself. You watched others move with certainty while you felt stuck in a fog, unsure of where you belonged or why things never seemed to flow the same way for you. It felt like confusion, like misdirection, like you were somehow falling behind. But what if that wasn't the truth at all? What if every moment of uncertainty was actually a form of preparation? See, most people are comfortable living on the surface. They follow patterns, accept what they're told, and rarely challenge the deeper meaning of their experiences. But you were never built for that. Your confusion forced you to pause, to question, to look beyond what was obvious. It pushed you into a deeper awareness, one that can't be taught, only earned. Every time you felt misunderstood, it wasn't because you were wrong, it was because you were seeing from a level others hadn't reached yet. And that feeling of being out of place, it wasn't rejection. It was a sign that you were never meant to fit into spaces that couldn't hold your growth. Even the pain had a purpose. Those heavy moments, the internal battles, the silent struggles no one else saw, they were strengthening you, building resilience, expanding your perspective, teaching you how to endure without losing yourself. While others avoided discomfort, you were being trained by it. And now, You're different. You notice things others overlook. You read between the lines. You trust your instincts more. That didn't happen by accident. It came from everything you've been through, so don't regret your confusion. It wasn't a detour. It was your preparation all along. You outgrew spaces before you understood why. There were moments you couldn't quite explain. Places that once felt like home suddenly felt unfamiliar. Conversations that used to excite you began to feel empty. Even dreams you once chased with passion started to lose their meaning. And in those moments you questioned yourself. Why am I changing? Why does nothing feel the same anymore? Why can't I just be satisfied like before? It felt like instability, like you were losing parts of yourself. But the truth is, you weren't falling apart. You were outgrowing. Growth doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like disconnection. It feels like standing in a room full of people and realizing you no longer belong there, not because you're better, but because you're different now. Your perspective has shifted. Your energy has evolved. And the things that once matched you no longer do. The hardest part, you didn't understand it while it was happening. You tried to hold on. You tried to force alignment with people, environments, and paths that no longer resonated with who you were becoming. But deep down, there was a quiet resistance, a voice telling you, this isn't it anymore. And that voice was right. You were never meant to stay where your growth ended. Staying would have required you to shrink, to ignore your evolution, to pretend you hadn't changed. But something within you refused to settle, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it meant standing alone. That's not weakness, that's transformation. Outgrowing spaces is a sign that you're moving forward, even when it feels like you're losing everything familiar. It means your life is making room for something greater, something aligned with who you are now, not who you used to be. So don't try to go back. You didn't lose your place, you simply grew beyond it. The isolation was never punishment, it was protection. There were seasons when the silence felt louder than anything else. No constant messages, no crowd to blend into, no easy distractions to fill the space. Just you and your thoughts. And at times, it felt like punishment, like you had been set apart, left out, or forgotten. But what if that isolation wasn't meant to break you, but to protect you? Because not all distance is loss. Some distance is divine separation. While others were caught up in noise, validation, and external approval, you were placed in an environment where none of that could reach you. Not to deprive you, but to strip away everything that wasn't truly yours. The opinions, the expectations, the pressure to conform, it all had to fall silent, so you could finally hear something real, your own voice. At first, it was uncomfortable. You questioned yourself. You overthought. You wrestled with emotions you had long avoided. But slowly, something began to shift. The noise faded, and clarity took its place. You started understanding yourself on a deeper level, what you value, what you refuse to tolerate, what you're truly capable of. That kind of clarity can't be developed in chaos. Isolation refined you. It built a kind of strength that doesn't depend on applause or approval. It taught you how to stand alone without feeling empty, how to trust yourself without constant reassurance. It gave you independence, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And most importantly, it protected your growth. Because not everyone deserves access to you while you're becoming. Some environments would have slowed you down. Some people would have distracted or diminished what was being built within you, so you weren't abandoned. You were being preserved. What felt like loneliness was actually preparation in its purest form. Your sensitivity is actually your power. For a long time, you may have seen your sensitivity as a burden. Feeling too much, noticing too much, caring more than others, seemed to it made you question yourself. You wondered why certain words lingered in your mind, why certain energies drained you, why you could sense shifts in people even when nothing was said. It felt like too much. But what if that too much is actually your greatest advantage? Sensitivity isn't weakness, it's awareness at a higher frequency. While others move through life on the surface, you're reading between the lines. You don't just hear words, you feel intentions. You don't just see actions, you sense the energy behind them. That kind of perception is rare, and more importantly, it's powerful, because it gives you insight. You can walk into a room and instantly understand the atmosphere. You can tell when something is off, even if everything looks fine. You pick up on patterns, emotions, and unspoken truths that most people completely overlook. That's not overthinking, that's intuition sharpening itself. And with time, that awareness becomes strategy. You begin to make better decisions, not just based on logic, but on alignment. You learn who to trust, when to step back, and when to move forward with confidence. You stop forcing things that don't feel right, and you start recognizing opportunities others can't even see. That's how you stay ahead quietly, naturally, effortlessly. The only challenge is learning how to manage it. Because when sensitivity is uncontrolled, it overwhelms you, but when it's mastered, it guides you. So stop seeing your depth as a flaw. It's your edge. The world may not always understand it, but that's exactly why it sets you apart. You were meant to see through illusions. There's something about you that has never been able to simply accept things at face value. Even when everyone else seemed comfortable following the norm, agreeing with what they were told, or settling into familiar patterns, you hesitated. You questioned. You looked deeper. And for a while, that made you feel like the odd one out. Why can't I just go along with it? Why does everything feel off? But that discomfort wasn't confusion. It was awareness trying to break through. You were never designed to live on autopilot. While others find comfort in certainty, you're wired to search for truth. And truth isn't always easy. It challenges, it disrupts. It forces you to confront things most people would rather ignore. You see through illusions, not just obvious ones, but the subtle ones. The unspoken expectations, the societal rules that no one questions, the patterns people repeat without ever asking why. You notice inconsistencies, hidden motives, and deeper meanings that sit beneath the surface of everyday life. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's why certain conversations feel shallow to you. That's why certain environments feel restrictive. That's why you've never been able to fully pretend or conform, even when it would have been easier. Because your mind and your spirit reject comfort when it comes at the cost of truth. But here's the reality. This ability comes with responsibility. Seeing clearly means you have to choose differently. It means you can't blindly follow paths that don't align. It means you have to trust your discernment, even when it separates you from the majority. And yes, that can feel isolating, but it's also what makes you powerful. Because in a world full of illusions, the one who sees clearly moves differently. You were never meant to be comfortable. You were meant to be aware. The delay in your life was intentional. There were moments you looked at your life and felt like time was slipping through your fingers. You watched others move ahead, achieving milestones, reaching goals, stepping into opportunities you thought would have come to you by now. And quietly a question began to echo in your mind. Why not me? Yet, it felt like delay. Like something was holding you back. Like you were stuck while everything else moved forward without you. But what if you were never behind? What if the delay wasn't denial, but design? Because timing isn't just about when things happen, it's about who you are when they do. And some doors don't open early, not because you're unworthy, but because you're still becoming the version of yourself that can sustain what's behind them. Imagine receiving everything you wanted before you had the clarity, discipline, or strength to handle it. It wouldn't elevate you, it would overwhelm you, it would collapse under pressure. So instead of rushing your path, life slowed you down, not to frustrate you, but to prepare you. Every delay added something to you: patience, resilience, discernment. You learned how to wait without quitting, how to grow without recognition, how to keep moving even when nothing seemed to be moving for you. That kind of endurance can't be taught overnight. It's built in silence, in uncertainty, in time. And now, you're not the same person you were when you first wanted those opportunities. You're stronger, sharper, more aware. That's alignment. So stop measuring your life against someone else's timeline. Their path was never yours to follow. What's meant for you is being positioned with precision, not speed. You're not late. You're being timed perfectly. And when it finally arrives, it will make sense why it didn't happen any sooner. You're entering a season of activation. Something is changing and you can feel it. It's subtle but undeniable. The weight that once sat heavily on your mind doesn't feel the same anymore. The confusion that used to cloud your thoughts is beginning to clear. Situations that once overwhelmed you now seem easier to understand, easier to navigate. It's like pieces of a puzzle are finally coming together. This is what activation feels like. For a long time, you were in a phase of accumulation, learning lessons, facing challenges, building strength in ways you couldn't always see. It felt slow. At times, it felt like nothing was happening at all. But beneath the surface, everything was shifting. Now, it's rising. Your mindset is evolving. You're thinking differently, seeing differently, responding differently. Things that once triggered you no longer have the same power. You're more aware, more intentional, more in control of your direction. And with that shift comes a new kind of energy, one that pushes you forward instead of holding you back. You're not just reacting to life anymore. You're stepping into it. Ideas are coming to you more clearly. Decisions feel more aligned. Even your intuition feels louder, stronger, more precise. You're starting to trust yourself in a way you never fully did before. And that trust, that's the beginning of momentum. Because once clarity meets confidence, everything changes. This is your turning point, the moment where everything you've been through begins to make sense. Not just in hindsight, but in real time. You're no longer preparing, you're activating. And here's what matters most. Don't doubt this shift. Don't downplay it or question whether it's real. This is the breakthrough you've been moving toward, even when you didn't realize it. You're stepping into a new level of yourself, and from here, there's no going back. Not everyone will understand your path. At some point, you started noticing it, the disconnect. You would try to explain your vision, your decisions, or even your mindset. And instead of understanding, you were met with confusion or silence. Sometimes even doubt. Why are you doing that? That doesn't make sense. Why can't you just be normal? And for a moment, it made you question yourself. But here's the truth you need to accept. Not everyone is meant to understand your path. Because your path wasn't designed for everyone. You're moving with a level of awareness, intention, and purpose that not everyone has reached. And that's not arrogance, it's alignment. People can only understand from their level of perception. If they haven't experienced what you've experienced, or seen what you've seen, they simply won't be able to fully grasp why you move the way you do. And that's okay. In fact, it's necessary. Because if everyone understood your path, it would mean your journey was ordinary. It would mean you were following something familiar, predictable, and widely accepted. But you're not. You're stepping into something specific, something that requires focus, clarity, and often separation. Distractions don't always come in obvious forms. Sometimes they come as opinions, expectations, pressure to conform. And if you try to carry everyone's understanding with you, you'll slow yourself down trying to explain what isn't meant to be explained. Your mission doesn't require validation. It requires commitment. So let people misunderstand. Let them question. Let them stay where they are if they choose to. You don't need to shrink your vision to fit their comfort. The fewer voices pulling you in different directions, the clearer your path becomes. And clarity? That's where your power lives. This is your confirmation you're ready now. Take a moment and really sit with this. You are not here by accident. Out of everything you could be doing, out of all the noise, distractions, and endless paths available to you, you're here, reading this, feeling this, and something inside you is responding, even if you can't fully explain why. That feeling, that's recognition. Because this isn't just another message, it's a confirmation. For a long time, you've been in preparation mode without even realizing it. Every challenge, every delay, every moment of doubt was shaping you, strengthening you, and aligning you for something greater. You thought you were just going through life, but life was actually positioning you. And now, you've arrived at a moment where everything begins to shift. This is where awareness meets opportunity. You're starting to see things differently. You're beginning to understand yourself on a deeper level. You're recognizing patterns, making connections, and feeling a pull towards something more, something bigger than where you've been. That's not coincidence. That's readiness. The version of you that once hesitated, overthought, and questioned your worth is no longer in control. A new version is emerging, one that is more aware, more confident, and more aligned with your purpose. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. Clarity alone isn't enough. You have to act, because moments like this don't stay open forever. They appear, they invite you forward, and then they pass if you hesitate too long. This is your window, your signal, your turning point. So the question isn't whether you're ready. You are. The real question is, will you step into it, or will you let this moment become another what if? This is your confirmation. Now it's your move. And now you see it, not just with your eyes, but with something deeper. Everything you've been through, every delay, every moment of confusion, every season of isolation, it wasn't random. It was building you, preparing you, aligning you for this exact moment. And now that you've reached this level of awareness, there's no going back to who you used to be. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unknow what you now understand. This is where your real journey begins. Not the one shaped by fear, doubt, or other people's expectations, but the one driven by purpose, clarity, and power. The version of you that once questioned everything is now becoming the one who moves with certainty, the one who doesn't wait for permission, the one who steps forward, even when the path isn't fully visible, because now you know you are not ordinary. You are not here to live a small, predictable life. There is something different about you, and it's time to stop ignoring it. But remember this, awareness is only the beginning. What you do next is what truly defines you. So if this message spoke to you, if you felt that shift, that spark, that undeniable pull, don't let it fade. Subscribe, stay connected, and keep showing up for yourself. Because this isn't just a video, it's a wake-up call. And your time, it's now.